Well, battery storage facilities are kind of a new phenomenon. It's pretty old technology, but they've become scaled to where now you're seeing them being deployed throughout the country to serve as really augmentation systems for the existing utility scale power that's transmitted throughout the United States. Texas, of course, has its own grid and has jumped in pretty aggressively with a lot of private companies that have been building these facilities for about 3 years now en masse and at scale. The one that we're talking about in San Angelo is actually the second one in Tom Green County. The Apex Angelo solar development during construction elected to build a 100 megawatt AC utility scale battery system. And what it does is it really doesn't communicate directly with the utility plant itself. So it's not just absorbing solar power generated electricity. It's actually just pulling it in off the grid.
What does the 3-year tax abatement do for the company that's coming in, and how does that help San Angelo?
Sure. The project that's being talked about that was discussed yesterday at City Council is a $160+ million facility. It is going to be built on the north side of town, and it did receive a slight tax abatement, and that's just to help offset some of the upfront construction costs, just due to the extreme nature of the development. It has a life of approximately 30 years, and they expect it to go past the 30-year lifespan, even if they were to change out all of the equipment or all of the battery cells over that period of time. The fact that the asset is deploying power onto the grid at a profit to the company, that makes it an indefinite investment. So there's a lot of incentive for the company to continue to keep the property used for battery energy storage well into the future. The 3-year tax abatement is a staggered tax abatement, so it's not 100% tax abatement for 3 years. It actually staggers, and it goes from a higher percentage to a lower percentage, with a full tax yield being realized to the municipality in year 4. So year 4 through 30. The county will receive, and the city will receive, a full tax levy. So that puts good money into the economy by putting it into the municipality for infrastructure and personnel. And so municipalities are always being asked to increase their level of service, just like every company in this country, and municipalities and cities are no different. So they, of course, have to economize and try to raise capital as much as they can to continue to keep up with the pace of growth and the services that are demanded because of that growth. And so since San Angelo is growing so fast, we wanted to try to find some private economic development tools that would help to augment the city budget. And this is a good tool to do it because it doesn't put any pressure on the labor shed, because it doesn't require any people. It's just essentially just a piece of machinery. It's a robot that runs itself. But one of the keys is that the San Angelo area, this region, has power capacity. So we've got the ability to put power onto the grid, whereas a lot of cities throughout the state don't have that luxury because their transmission capacity is very limited. So San Angelo, because of its location in the state, has the ability to put a lot more power onto the grid than, say, a development in one of the major cities, along the Gulf Coast. So that's one of the benefits of San Angelo, and these dispatchable power companies have noticed that and are taking a look at San Angelo, and they're very, very favorable about the market. These battery-powered systems are very encouraged by the welcome that they've received from San Angelo leadership, due to the fact that they do consume and output power. That does put some pressure on the grid system, but San Angelo has an abundance of available line bandwidth in which to transmit that power, so it makes San Angelo very attractive. And there's probably going to be a lot more coming on the way. Right now, Apex Angelo Solar, to the west of 2288, has a 100 megawatt battery energy storage system, dispatchable, utility scale. And of course, we heard about the one yesterday that we've been working on that did get its first reading at City Council. There'll be more on the way. We're working with several more companies that are developers of dispatchable power systems. And what this does is this just allows the Texas grid to take advantage of surplus power. It stores it. It's a very simple process. It stores it, and then when it's needed, it can be immediately dispatched into the grid. And so that will help in high heat situations. So you absorb the power into the batteries early in the morning when there's very low consumption, and then dispatch it in the afternoon when there's higher consumption. So it's a very sensible program. The equipment is very safe. We vetted it. We studied it at length for over a year just to understand what does it mean to have battery energy storage systems in San Angelo and in the region. We feel very confident in them.
And so this is day to day. Can they store energy over longer periods of time as well?
They can. They can store it as long as there's life in the battery, which is very long-lived battery cells. They can store it for weeks and months. There's really no limit to how long you can store it. The reality is that once it pulls energy, surplus power off the grid, it probably won't retain that power for more than a couple of days before it's depleted and then put back onto the grid. And it depends also on the percentage of dispatch. So if you have a 100% volume battery system and you fill it up to 100%, the company may only be required to dispatch it to, say, 35 or 40% down from the 100, leaving plenty of power still in the system. Commonly in a battery storage system with traditional, customary dispatch and consumption on a daily basis, a battery energy storage system is really going to last about 4 hours. That would be its total lifespan if you were to dispatch every bit of power out of it at 100% capacity. But the reality is it's only probably going to dispatch 25 to 35% of its power at any given time. And then as soon as that dispatch demand is met, it's going to go into a receive mode. So it's going to be pulling power back off the grid.
So would these companies then be able to send power out anywhere on the ERCOT grid, or would it just be San Angelo?
No, that's a great question. They can send it anywhere within the state. So anywhere electrical power is needed, they can dispatch it to those locations. So it doesn't just have to stay in the Concho Valley. Although it could just dispatch to the Concho Valley. For example, if there were ever large storm events or freeze events, then you would probably see an abundance of that energy staying within the region. So they're very good for energy security as well.
So if they do send energy out elsewhere, would those be transactions? Would there be a kind of a tax off the top that would then come back to San Angelo?
It's just a private transaction between the power company that owns the battery storage system and the consumer and the distributor of that power. Really the only benefit, which is a major benefit to the city in this county, is that they do receive an annual taxation on the asset, and it can last indefinitely. I mean, the shelf life on a battery storage system is 30 years, and that's what the contract lengths are for. So it's a long-term investment. Very likely that as technology increases and the effectiveness of the technology for battery storage increases, the companies are not going to relinquish their property. They're going to continue to build onto it and make it even more effective and more powerful.
We've got a lot of public works projects going up toward the north side of town as well. We just saw the construction work on Chadburn Street. So what does this mean to have this project taking place on the north side of town?
Well, it's near several transmission lines, which makes it easier to get the power from the battery storage system onto the grid, because you don't have the latency of running it over miles and miles of transmission cable. And it just shows that the north side of town is continuing to grow. The north side of San Angelo really is what we internally call the industrial crescent of the city. And that's really where the majority of the economic power for San Angelo, the manufacturing, the heavy industry, most of that is in the north, central, and northeast side of town. And so it makes sense that that project would be situated there. What's nice about these is that they produce a high value product to the public. They're complete private private transactions. I mean, it's a private company investing their money into this project. There's the municipal contribution is just a very small amount of tax relief on the front end to just help offset some of the costs. And there are people who have even asked us, well, why would a company like an electrical company that produces electricity even need or even think to need any kind of assistance? The main reason is because if you're manufacturing a product and you have certain high startup costs, you can bake those costs back into the price of your product, whatever it might be. But electricity, for the most part, is a commodity. I mean, you really can't make very wild price adjustments just because your electrical generation system is state-of-the-art and brand new and cost a whole lot more than it would have, say, 30 years ago. You can't pass those costs on to the customer. And so you're going to see very small percentages of increase for the profitability of these companies. It's going to take years for these companies to just break even after the cost of construction. So assistance programs like the ones that are being contemplated for this particular battery energy storage system by the city are fairly customary. It's a city's way of making a contribution to the investment. It shows, for lack of a better term, it shows that the municipality has some skin in the game and that they believe in the technology and the utility of that technology as well as the company that desires to build the facility itself. And it builds really good relationships. In fact, there have been several instances where solar power generators and other battery energy storage developers throughout the state have received probably more symbolic than material assistance packages from a variety of different municipalities. But it really builds a trust relationship between the developer and the city. And that developer likes that and feels a sense of gratitude towards the municipality for working with them, and then continues to bring more investment. So really, it's a way for municipalities to contribute to the relationship in a meaningful way. And so we're very pleased with the battery energy storage projects that we have underway. We think that they're going to provide a good tax yield to the city at a time when the city really needs it, because San Angelo is continuing to grow, and the demand for services by the public of the city are going to also continue to mount. So this helps all parties all the way around.
Have there been any new talks about upgrades to the Coliseum? Is that something that you all are looking forward to or hoping for?
We've picked up a lot of traffic on that topic, and of course the Coliseum where the rodeo is held is an older complex. It's functional. Some might even say it's charming, but certainly it's showing its age. And so we're very aware of the discussions that have been happening publicly and privately between public and private entities on how to upgrade that facility. You ask a really good question, and you make a really good point about the rodeo. And yes, as a single event, it is the biggest revenue generator for the city, private revenue generator that occurs every year and has for decades. It is world famous, literally world famous. Riders and spectators come in from all over the country, all over North America, and even parts of even from other countries. But one of the added benefits to the San Angelo Rodeo is that it brings in a lot of good exposure for the community of San Angelo as a lifestyle community, but also as an industrial manufacturing community. And we've had several instances where attendees of the rodeo, usually management level personnel from a variety of different types of companies, will engage us during or after the rodeo on opportunities to locate facilities in San Angelo itself. So really, you have the primary effect, which is the tourism and the spending, and the the hotels that is very common with large-scale events like the rodeo. But then you'll have the secondary effect of relationship building. And so we look forward to the rodeo every year because it gives us an opportunity to continue to build upon those relationships with people that we probably never would have met had it not been for the community gathering that is the San Angelo Livestock Show and Rodeo.
We just had the West Texas Legislative Summit a handful of weeks ago. We've got the state training here in November. They also, downtown San Angelo, hosted the Main Street Retreat.
They did.
A bunch of people from different cities and municipalities coming in. So that's a lot within a few months time span. What would you say you're most excited for San Angelo over the next few months?
Well, next few months, you're coming into the holiday season, so obviously Christmas time is a really big event that lasts for over 60 days in the San Angelo area. Of course, that brings in a lot of tourism, brings in a lot of travelers. And probably the thing that I'm most excited about are the announcements that we'll be able to go public with in the late winter, early spring of next year. We've got projects that are under wraps, but they are underway that I think are going to be very beneficial to the community, to the local school system, and to the city in general. San Angelo is growing, and it is continuing to find itself more and more in the spotlight, not just because of events like the West Texas Legislative Summit and all of the work that the Downtown San Angelo Inc. team are doing, but you're starting to see a lot of industry coming into San Angelo that probably wouldn't have considered San Angelo 10 years ago. And as you have a community that is quite proud of its city, it has a lot to be proud of, and that message starts to get out. It's funny because messaging, you can do it quickly, but the absorption to your audience takes some time. But for example, our office is inundated with calls every day from different companies and individuals exploring San Angelo as an option for their corporation or for an expansion. And so we find this to be, it's very heartening to see this happening, and it makes us feel like we're doing the right thing.
Next thing I want to ask you about, and I'm almost done here, I got maybe two more. High school football, it's huge throughout the entire region. I was just at the Central game last week. I'll be at the Lakeview game this week. How much of a boost is high school football every year to the area, and what excites you about it?
Well, it's exciting because you see young people engaging in a lot of skills training, and they may be thinking it's just a football game, but really it's a lot of team building, and there are really a lot of community and professional and personal development lessons that are being reinforced when you see youngsters playing organized sports. So I think that's sometimes something that the headliners sometimes tend to overlook, and that is really when you look back in history as to why do you have student sports that are very competitive. It was really designed for team building and for the building of the self, of the individual student. And so when I see these football games going on, I always think about not just the game and the score, but also the lessons that are being re-emphasized to these students who are participating at all different levels. Even the supporters and the people who take care of the team, the bands. So everybody participates, and everybody learns that they all have very important roles, not just the headlines. And so, yeah, watching the effect on the economy is also pretty impressive, because San Angelo, obviously, which has a very deep, rich history in organized sports, team sports, comes out as a community support. Even I know a lot of people who go out and support the basketball games at ASU, the SAISD athletics. They don't even have kids in the school system or any kids at all. And I think that that's a real community builder. So yeah, it always is very gratifying to see the stadium packed on a Thursday, and especially on a Friday night. and then look at the community building that happens and the relationships and the friendships that are derivatives of the event itself. I love seeing it.
I think this will be my last one for you. So we all miss Walt. He's been gone for a couple of months now, and part of the reason why he felt comfortable leaving is because of the staff that he ultimately left behind here. How do you feel about one, not just the search for president, but where the chamber is at right now?
Sure. The chamber's in really good condition. The staff members have always gotten along really well, especially under Walt's command. That was one of the things that I think he learned from many years in industry and years with the State Department, is that you have to take people from all kinds of different backgrounds, all with different goals, generally A-type personalities, and make sure that everybody respects each other and gets along and understands the mission focus, but also pays attention and creates a sensitivity towards people's personal lives. What are their goals as people? What are their health goals? What are their professional goals? And so that was something that was very engendered in our staff. And so when he retired, the staff continued on that legacy. And so as far as the search committee has been underway just a couple of weeks after Walt retired, and have been looking for the right fit. That's probably why we haven't had a whole lot of news coming from the search committee, because they're being very deliberate and judicious in making sure that whomever they choose is truly the right fit.
Well, that's all I have for now. Is there anything else that you wanted to say or anything we missed?
The Amazon RSR, that stands for Rural Super Rural, that's the last mile distribution facility in the industrial park. It's on Venture Drive. If you haven't been there lately, it is well into construction. They've got the walls up, the roof on, and right now they're continuing to do site work around the perimeter of the building. So stay tuned for more information as to when they're going to actually open it, but our communications with the company have been very positive the whole time. They're very excited about the San Angelo market. They have a lot of ambition for our market. And so certainly that was, I think, a real nod to the citizens and the leadership of San Angelo when Amazon made the decision after 11 months of negotiation to go forward with the San Angelo project. They don't build very many new facilities every year, and so it was really special to have them select a community like San Angelo. And they've got very large strategic plans and a belief in San Angelo itself. And the company really has increased emphasis on supporting small businesses, because they in effect act as a delivery service for a lot of really small businesses. And due to their ability to scale, they give small businesses a global reach, which is something that Amazon is very proud of.